Okay, right, 7 design principles. This is the important stuff. So if you're only going to listen to one set of slides, I'd recommend you make it this one. We'll talk through each of these individually, and as I say, they're thinking tools, and we've got examples that illustrate why they are important. And then hopefully as we go through, you can see how they would apply to any design or redesign projects that you're going to embark on. So meet expectations. Always a good opportunity for a cheap gag. So if I give you, in Weird Silhouette World, a glass of one of these shapes, you will have very strong expectations as to the sort of liquid that will be contained within it. And if the wrong type of liquid, if you mix the liquids up between those glasses, you are not going to be a happy bunny. And you're going to scrunch up your face and spit it on the floor, probably. Even though you might like the drink, your expectations were set wrongly, so you're going to react poorly. And this is very, very important because, you know, simple things like shapes, sizes, words, appearances, colours can set off very, very powerful expectations. And we need to make sure that we're aware of what those expectations are, and when we design to meet them, rather than confound or conflict them, which is just rude, unless we're doing it for a very particular reason. So, this is really called a mental model. People do not, you know, wake up every morning and figure out how the world works in you. No one's got that man available free time. What they do is they base a lot of their daily interaction on assumptions. Assumptions that buses stop at things that look like bus stops. I don't have to think that through every morning. I know that that's going to happen. Especially if it's got that number on the bus stop. It's the same number as the number on the bus. All is good. That's a mental model, and it's based on experience, and it determines how I'm going to behave. And this applies not only to bus stops, funnily enough, it also applies to other stuff, such as the structure of websites, how websites behave. If something looks like a drop-down, I expect to be able to click on it and things will come out. If it doesn't, it's going to freak me out. I'm going to think, well, it looked like a drop-down. Why not? What am I? Is it broken? You know, what am I not getting about this? Language, particularly if you're reasonably familiar with an area of expertise or a domain, people expect things to be called in certain ways, such as tin. You know, if I go to a grocery store or a big Asda or Tesco's, I expect to see, you know, a bread aisle, a dairy aisle. You know, I expect certain things to be called by a certain name, even though other names would probably be equally as accurate. It's just the fact that I've learned to associate certain words with certain things in certain contexts. And it's important to be aware of that. And appearance. So if I see a blue piece of text on an internet site, all things being equal, it's going to be a link. If it's not a link, I'm probably going to be quite confused about that. So it's just being aware, sympathetic to, and sensitive to these sorts of things, these sorts of expectations. So someone, God bless them, did a PhD on this sort of stuff. Someone had to, and took 3 years and probably quite a lot of money and quite a lot of late nights and, you know, Lord only knows what else, to figure out that on e-commerce sites, generally people expect this sort of structure, like that. So, link to home, login, register, navigation on the left, search and shopping cart normally top right. Perfectly obvious, based on intuition. Most e-commerce sites conform to that because they've looked at other e-commerce sites and said, well, everyone else is doing that kind of thing, we'll stick with it. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But even so, it's nice to know that someone's taken the time to actually research it. That's an example of an expectation which, if you broke it radically, such as if you put your shopping cart bottom right of your page, that would be a cause of concern, purely on the basis that that's not where people expect it to be. Even if you had a brilliant logic for it, the logic may be overridden by the fact that's not where people expect it to be. Right, so this is an old screenshot from a website, play.com. What will happen when I click a buy button? Ordinarily, I'm not going to give you an opportunity to answer because, you know, awkward silences, no one likes them. Normally, when I click a buy button, I expect to be taken to a shopping cart page where it says this is now in your cart. That's not an unreasonable expectation. Or something else will happen that tells me that I've successfully added it to my cart. What actually happened, that is the next screen that I saw when I clicked buy, and it's not much appears to have changed between this one and the previous one. However, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that here, this is the one where I haven't added anything. I add something, and now something's been added here to the basket. Now, one could make a strong case, and I am going to make that case now, in fact, that that is too subtle, because my expectation is that I get taken to a new page. If you're going to not meet my expectation and do something else, you need to make it really obvious what it is that you've just done. Which that doesn't make it obvious enough, so I'm now confused, and what I actually did do was add like 2 or 3 of them before I twigged that this little thing here was actually updating. And
that's why they did it.
Possibly. However, I didn't buy 2 or 3, which is where their plan rather fell down. But I take your point, yeah. They may have been sort of Machiavellian in their intent. Or incompetent. One of the two. Well, incompetent's a strong word. Careless. Careless is a better word.